The FM23 winter update has been with us a little while now, and in that time we've got to learn about the new upgraded players, the new bargains that you can find in the game, and one of the favourites of course is the new and upgraded Wonderkids that were added within that update. Now a few months ago we were making a series where we ranked all of the Wonderkids by position, all of the goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and strikers. Now you guys really seem to enjoy that series, so we thought why not take the top 20 upgraded Wonderkids, whether they be new Wonderkids or upgraded, from the update and put them into a tier list to find out who was the best addition from the winter release. Now we've got 5 tiers that we've got to put these players through today. Too expensive for the players that are too expensive for most people's saves. We've got the okay section for the average players, the good section for the ones that are slightly better, the best of the rest for those top tier Wonderkids, and then the GOAT, which is reserved for one single player. We've got 20 to get through today, and just so you know, in the description down below will be a list of the players in order as we go, so that you don't have to just rely on my pronunciation of a player's name to figure out who they are, because sometimes I do get that wrong. But if you do enjoy this video and you want to see more tier lists, and go ahead and smash that like button for us. Let us know in the comments who you would class as the GOAT, and subscribe as we get close to 160,000 subscribers. Without further ado, let's start ranking, and the first player is a very, very good one. We have Brighton striker Evan Ferguson, who was not only one of the most improved Wonderkids in the game, but also one of the most improved players. He's been scoring goals in the Premier League at such a young age, and the Premier League is not easy at all, so it's very impressive for such a young striker. He's got great potential now, and he is one of the best Wonderkid strikers that you can find. Now Brighton will charge you a pretty penny for him, but considering how powerful he is and how good he can be straight away, I feel like he's got to go in the best of the rest section. It might move around a little bit, but we're considering a few factors in this video. First, we've got a player's cost, their availability for most teams, their potential ability, and also their current ability, of course. Obviously, if you've got a player with loads of potential, but he starts off not looking great, it's not always the best scenario, because you have to wait 5 years to actually get any use out of a player, and that fits perfectly into our next Wonderkid, who was a completely brand new one added in the winter update. It's the Brazilian winger Lorran, who plays out in the Brazilian divisions. Again, their names will be in the description if you don't like my pronunciation, but for me, even though he's very talented in terms of potential, he's not as good as some of the players in this list. Because he starts off at the age of 15, his current ability is also pretty low, and it means he's not really usable for most teams. He's not the most expensive in the world, but I think there's better Wonderkids in this list. So for now, we're just going to have him in that okay section. And just so you know, the higher on the left they are, so we had 2 people in the same section, the higher on the left, the better that I consider them to be. So you'll see a few players move around as we go. I haven't planned out who's going where. We're going to figure it out as we do it and try and find out who is the GOAT. And our next player is one of my favourites from the winter update. I'm not saying I'm going to rank him as GOAT because of that, but on a personal level, he is certainly one of my favourites. His name is James Gomez. He's a Gambian centre-back who plays for a club called Horsens, if I'm getting that correct, and he is uber talented but also super cheap because of the club he's at, and quite available. You don't have to be the world's best club to be able to sign him. You're looking at about £2 million to get him. He's actually someone that I've signed in a rebuild video that's coming out on my channel soon with the Lankshear. If you want to check out some rebuilds or some Let's Play videos, you can find them on my channel, linked in the description. If you want to come on over, check the content out and hit the subscribe button, I'd massively appreciate it. But James Gomez is a great centre-back, lots of potential, but also his price point is very good, so I'm going to put him in the good section. There's better players out there, but he was certainly a nice addition in that winter update. Already existed, but got a big boost to be a much more viable centre-back for you guys to sign. Next, we have Levi Colwill of Chelsea, currently out on loan at Brighton. He is someone that was already a Wonderkid, but after his great performances for Brighton this year and Huddersfield last year, he's had a big upgrade and is now considered one of the best centre-backs in the game, one of the highest potential centre-backs in the game, and also is pretty much nailed on to be an England international within a few years. In the update, they did give him a fixed potential, which means that he's got a number that he'll always reach in your save should you develop him enough, and it makes him one of the best centre-backs as mentioned. The only issue with Colwill though is Chelsea are likely going to demand a really high fee. He'll be on loan at Brighton for a year, will develop quite well, and then Chelsea aren't looking to let him go. Before the winter update, update, you could maybe get him for free after a few years or on loan or even as a transfer listed player. Chelsea never seemed to fancy him, but now after his upgrade, he is very expensive. And even though if you're Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or PSG, you might be able to sign him, realistically for most teams, he's not an option to go out and get. So Levi Colwill, as good as he is, goes in the too expensive tier. And you might think the same case would apply for our next player, Wilfried Gnonto, who plays for Leeds, but he's also an Italian international now. He's a great young striker, and he has excellent pace, which makes him deadly in the in-game engine. And as far as Wonderkid strikers go, he is certainly one of the best. But being at a Premier League club and being quite a recent signing, he can be quite pricey, and it would make me think that he needs to go in the too expensive section. But, and there's a big but with him, he plays for Leeds, and often Leeds will get relegated in your save, he'll get transfer listed or want to move away to a bigger club, and he can be quite a realistic transfer target. Now, you might have to wait a year or so before you actually go ahead and try and sign him, but he's not a completely unusable option. There's a lot of teams out there who would be able to poach him from Leeds, and for that reason, I'm going to put him in the good section. I prefer Evan Ferguson as an option because of his all-round game, but if you're looking for a really pacey forward, then Wilfried Gnonto could be the one for you. Our next player is also a physical beast. It's El Shadil Bitshiabu of PSG, who recently started getting some first team appearances for PSG, and it's meant he went from being a good Wonderkid centre-back to one of the best. He is physically dominant in every sense of the word, really strong and amazing in the air. He's going to give any attacker a nightmare, and he also starts off with quite a lot of current ability now, as well as that potential. He even seems to be quite gettable from PSG. He will cost a fair bit, 10, 20 million pounds or so, but I think he's definitely worth it. I really like him as an option, and as far as centre-backs go, because of just how talented he is, I think he does go above James Gomez, but obviously James Gomez is a much cheaper option, so you'd expect that. But he's certainly one of the best centre-backs, but not the best centre-back. That might be reserved, and I think it probably is reserved for this man here, Ousmane Diomande of Sporting Club de Portugal in the Portuguese divisions. Now, he is someone that when he got upgraded in the winter update, everyone was talking about. We were told to make a video on him straight away, so we did. We made a Wonderkid to Superstar where he became one of the best in the world instantly. Even some fans of his own club were surprised by how good the game had made him, but he is so talented, not just when it comes to potential, but straight away, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I'm saying he is one of the best centre-backs in the game right from the off. He's got attributes that are off the charts. He can pass, he can defend, he's physically dominant, and he's tall. He's everything you'd want in a modern day defender, and whilst he will cost 30 or 40 million, if you're a big team and you can go and get him, he is your centre-back for the next 10 years easily, and he'll just go on to be one of the best in the world, undoubtedly one of the best players from the winter update, and for that reason, I'm going to drop him in the best of the rest. He might end up moving to GOAT, we'll see later on, depending on who comes in still, but our next player is Will Lankshear, a striker from Tottenham. Now, they've got a few Wonderkid strikers. Dane Scarlett is one, Jamie Donnelly's another, but Will Lankshear was upgraded in the winter update to be a very viable striking option for some teams. Now, I don't think he's one of the best. I think there's plenty of better options out there, and being English and at Spurs, his price is quite high, and if you are looking to loan him in maybe for a Championship club or a League One club and wait a few years before you sign him, maybe he's a good option, but for me, he's just not that good. I think he's a decent Wonderkid, but not one of the best. In terms of upgrades from the winter update, he was one of the biggest, but for the player he is, for me, I'm not a huge fan, so he's just going to go in the okay section for now. There were plenty of upgraded defenders in this update, though. We've had a few already, bitshiabu, Gomez, Diomande, Levi Colwill, and we've got another one here, Mattia Viti, who plays for Nice, I believe. He played a few years in the Serie A before moving to Ligue 1, and he's an uber-talented centre-back, really good, and he's got a lot of potential as well. I haven't got his Football Manager page in front of me right now, but if I remember correct, he is quite a tall, physical presence, and he doesn't cost the world either. The only problem is he's just joined Nice, so you'll have to wait a year at minimum before you go ahead and get him. I think he's good, but I don't think he's amazing. So for me, I'm going to put him below James Gomez, purely because James Gomez is so cheap. But I think Mattia Viti, still a very good option, a great centre-back, but I'm just going to leave him in the good section for now. We're going to leave Alex Scott for a little bit later so we can talk a little bit more about this best of the rest and GOAT category, but we're going to move on to our next player. His name is Thomi Montefiori, and he's a talented midfielder, but much like Lorran, I don't think he's incredible. He's okay, he's a good option. I just think there's better out there. I'm not going to spend too long talking about him, but I will say he's a decent Wonderkid, but I wouldn't put him in the good section with some of the others. If you haven't checked him out, feel free to after this video. A lot of potential, a lot of ability, but not as good as some of the rest in this list. And now we move on to Alejandro Garnacho, who obviously had a breakout first half of the year with Manchester United under Erik ten Hag. Did very well, and I think he must be injured or something now because I don't see him as often, or maybe he's just lost a bit of form. I'm not watching every single Man U game, so I don't know, but he did get an upgrade. He's very talented, a lot of potential, but I think another one that for most clubs, he's too expensive. For the first few years, he will be. After that, you've got to be a club of Manchester United's level or higher to try and sign him, or at least have a really good project on your hands to be able to entice him to. Unless he gets transfer listed or loan listed, he's not really one that many people can go for, so I think for now, we'll stick him in the too expensive option. But if you think I've got any of these players wrong, let me know in the comments, because everybody's going to have their own opinions. Now we have a goalkeeper, the only one on the list. It's Lille's starting goalkeeper, Lucas Chevallier, a French goalkeeper who's always had a lot of potential, but got an upgrade in the winter update. Now, I'd love to sit here and talk for ages about him, but at the end of the day, he's a goalkeeper Wonderkid. It's not that exciting. I think he's good. He's one of the better Wonderkids out there when it comes to the goalkeeping position, but I don't think there's too much else to say about that. Big upgrade, a nice player, but I think there are some better goalkeepers out there should you want to sign them. Next, though, we have got Moises Caicedo, someone that, as well as having potential in FM, has great potential in real life too, being linked with some huge moves, but he's been doing amazing at Brighton recently, a big part of their team, and nearly moved on in January, I believe, to Arsenal, I think it was. It looked like he did want a move and it didn't end up happening, but he's certainly not pulled his performances away or anything like that. He's kept going. He's done great. I had to watch him destroy my team Chelsea the other week. I think he's a really talented player and one that will cost a lot, but I think he's worth it. He has a release clause, and often, if Brighton aren't doing great, he will want to move on. Even though he's got loads of potential and loads of ability, because of his price point, I can't put him in best of the rest just yet. I think he is like a £50 million player, but if you are a decent team, you might be able to entice him away from Brighton. So I think I put him as one of the best in the good section, but purely on price, I can't justify him being in best of the rest. Ben Seghir of Monaco is one of the most promising talents in the world currently, and in FM it's a very similar story. He's got a lot of potential and had a big upgrade in the winter update, an attacking midfielder with plenty of ability. He's also not the world's most expensive. We've done a whole Wonderkid to Superstar about him. He's got so much technical skill that he'll fit in at so many of the top clubs around the world. I won't spend forever on all of these last few players. I feel like I'm talking quite a lot here, but he is going to go in the good section for me. Certainly in the top 5 or 6 Wonderkids from the update. We now have William Pacho, who plays for Antwerp, but I believe he already has a move lined up to join someone else, but maybe after a season or so you can go for him. But he was upgraded in the winter update. He's a centre-back with a lot of talent, but for me, go for James Gomez over him. I feel like James Gomez, being so cheap, is such a good option. And if you want to pay a little bit more for a more premium player, then you're probably better to go for bitshiabu of PSG. Next, we have David Dato Fofana of Chelsea, signed to be a striker for them in a few years' time. It looks like Chelsea might be looking to loan him out currently in real life, maybe next season, because he hasn't really been given the opportunity, even when Chelsea are crying out for a striker. I feel like he should be given the chance, but he hasn't been. But in terms of FM, he's a very talented player. He already was, and now he's way better than he was before. But having made that move to Chelsea recently, it does make him quite inaccessible for a year or so. But after that, he is the kind of player you can get on loan. You might be able to sign him also if Chelsea don't give him much game time after a season or so. So he's definitely worth taking a look at. I think there's better options out there, but he is certainly a beast in FM. When it comes to his pace and his physical ability, he uses that to destroy the opponents, and then he can finish as well. A great player, and he's fitting in that good section for me. And now we're down to our final 4. Next, we have Nico of Real Madrid, a very talented young player, as all of these guys are, of course. If you're looking for a Wonderkid winger, though, there's plenty of better options out there, in my opinion. I think he's good, I just don't think he's amazing. Got a big upgrade in the winter update, but I think he's probably going to sit just in front of Chevallier there in the good section, where I have put a lot of people. So I think actually I'm going to move a few people down here. I think we'll do this. That makes it a little bit more balanced, I think. We've got a few in the too expensive, positive, quite a few in good, a few in okay, a couple in best of the rest. I think we might have one more in there yet, and then a GOAT. But the next player we're going to talk about had a breakout year about Christmas time, Stefan Bajčetić of Liverpool. He got injured now and he's no longer in the team, but he looks so assured for his age, was playing out the likes of Fabinho out the team, and because of that, Sports Interactive gave him a big upgrade. He's very talented right from the off with a lot of potential, can play a bunch of positions also, and he is destined for a very bright future. Obviously, being at Liverpool though does make him pretty expensive. I think he's better than Garnacho. Him and Colwill are both so talented, but being at such big Premier League clubs, they're going to command such high fees that I think for most people, they are not feasible transfers. But speaking of feasible transfers, if you're looking for a defender for your team, whether that be a right back or a centre back, and you have the money, £10 million or so, then stop at no end until you bring Iván Fresneda to your team. We need to do a Wonderkid to superstar on him soon. He was already a good Wonderkid. Now he is one of the best you can get. He's being linked with moves to the likes of Arsenal in real life. He's so talented with so much potential. He plays for Spanish side Valladolid, and I think if anyone gets their hands on him, you will love him straight away. Lots of ability, lots of potential to get better. His attributes are really well spread as well, so he's not really got a weakness in his game. And for me, he is one of the best of the rest. Maybe not quite Diomande level, but he's got so much ability, he has to be at the top of the best of the rest. But for me, the player that has got to be the GOAT from the winter update, it's got to be Alex Scott. The Bristol City midfielder was already so good in game. He's got an upgrade and he has just became such a phenomenal talent. He could walk in to most Premier League sides, even top 6 Premier League sides straight away, and he's got so much potential in game. On top of that, his price point is pretty low. I don't know if he did win it, but I know he was being linked to like Championship Young Player of the Year award. I feel like he was a shoo-in for it when I last checked, but he is such a phenomenal talent. He'll make any team in the world better and usually only costs 10 or 15 million. So I really think you should give him a go if you haven't already. But I imagine most of you will agree with me on that pick. Maybe some will put Diomande, but I think it's got to be one of him or Alex Scott for me. Let me know your thoughts down below though. Don't forget to like the video if you did enjoy, subscribe to the channel for more, and let us know what tier list you'd like to see next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.